is called Sunfly. It's one of the older paintings I've done, exploring the feminine divine energy, and it's got like several different tones going on in it at once. There's sort of a darker tone. There's some really odd characters, like this sort of dragon person crawling out of a, green person's mouth, and these characters with wings, and you've got sort of this lower level of, it looks like people immersed in water in an ocean. They're kind of strange and stretched out fingers, and in the middle, the character in the middle represents this sort of raw, wild energy, and she's got her arms out. Her arms are out, her legs are positioned to be sort of reminiscent of the crucifixion, only it's sort of like at the point where the rebirth, or the not rebirth, but coming back to life is happening. And the sun is surrounding her. It's these two faces looking at each other, and also representing the sun, but she's sort of bursting back into life. And you've got the waters coming down from her. You've got fire energy, you've got water energy, but water energy I associate with birth and life-giving, a maternal giving of life. And so she's sort of sending life back out into this realm where things are getting a little warped and a little sketchy, and she's sort of coming into her power, and this person's sort of flying towards her. You can see the sun energy is reaching out across them, and so there's this idea of Earth being this sort of realm where there's a lot of chaos happening. There's good things, there's bad things, there's birth and death, there's all these things happening at once. But we have this divine energy that we can tap into at any time and reach out to. We're never separated from that. Okay, so this is Mountain Woman, and this painting is sort of a heavier painting than many of my other ones. It's a little bit of an older painting as well, and it represents the divine nature. Still, there's this woman in the background. She's sort of a mountain. It's representing sort of the goddess in nature, and she's just kind of there, part of the earth, part of the world, part of the scenery. And you've got this character, this figure, who's clearly in some pain, and she's sort of ripped open. She's ripped open as if her soul has been removed. She's ripped open and sort of empty inside, and she's got her hands out. She's sort of melting into the river, coming apart, and there's this other figure floating in the water in front of her, and it's somewhat like a death, like as if this is her, or this is her soul, has come out, and she's just sort of acknowledging it being there. And there's these strange, almost reptilian type people in the background, and there's the serpent, which as I've said before, the serpent comes up in a lot of my paintings, and it represents healing energy. And so you've got these sort of strange mythical and mystical characters. This face is watching. There's a tiger lady. This person seems to be sort of entangled and praying, or reaching out to the divine, and she clearly has an expression on her face that is not a happy one. She's definitely suffering, so she's reaching out for help. And you got the eagle, which to me represents independence and freedom, and the eagle is looking on, you know, at the scene. It is a painting of suffering. It is a painting of reaching out, and it is interesting to me in the time that since I painted this. Suffering is sort of like a human universal phenomenon. Like everybody most people know what suffering is. There's very few people who haven't either witnessed it or felt it. It's sort of, you know, obviously people have different levels of it, different experiences of it. But it is part of being a human. You can't avoid it. I think we try to avoid it, but you can't. And one of the things in spirituality, I think many people turn to the divine when they are suffering, when they've sort of hit that threshold that they can't tolerate anymore, they can't handle anymore. You know, people either often then turn their back on the divine or start reaching out to the divine. And an interesting, you know, sort of topic or concept of that in the bone tradition Buddhism that I've been reading about is that there is a way to remove suffering, and it's not about physical means. It's a spiritual mean. There's sort of a way to live that reduces or removes suffering, and so I, you know, find it interesting that over the years I've learned more about that, and looking back on this painting, to these people sort of pleading to remove their suffering. That there's, you know, this image of freedom sort of up here, you know, within their reach.